Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the class. I hope you can hear me and you can see me now. So this is a session on how to ace the QA section for the CAT, and of course, as you know, the QA section for the CAT is one of the most important sections in the exam. So we'll hopefully try to get through a complete analysis of the section as we move on. And I'm just sharing my screen for you. So quantitative aptitude, as you know, is one of the most important areas of the quants prep, and also one of the, along with verbal, the most uh, important. The most prepared for section also, in the sense that it takes the maximum amount of time, along with the verbal. Verbal specifically, I'll qualify that statement. Verbal, you'll take time if you have to improve your English along with improving your solving. अगर वर्बल में तुमको सिर्फ सॉल्विंग इंप्रूव करना है तो उतना टाइम नहीं लगता है जितना जितना क्वांट्स में लगता है. सो दैट वे फॉर लॉट ऑफ पीपल क्वांट्स इज द मैक्सिमम prepared for area in terms of what it asks you to do, etc., in the context of the exam, right? So and I'm quite sure the anxiety level is pretty high with respect to preparing for the con section. So without any further ado, let me start off by discussing with you the entire process. So I will be dividing my structure. And good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the session. And I hope you're also taking our free open mock cat today. If you're not taking that, so you still have a 4 o'clock slot which you can enter. So you can just register for that and try to do that. So I'm dividing my session into three parts today. The first part of the session is what you have to do in terms of the quantum of work. Well, first, we'll define the quantum of work required. How much work you need to do if you want to master the quant section. The second important component of preparation is how do you do it. This is very important. What are the steps? And it's not just about what you have to do, it's about how to do it, because there's a certain way. If you do it that way, your cons will go through in one shot rather than a lot of experimentations in your cons. And the third part is the key things to keep in mind while doing the cons, right? So there are maybe three key things that I want to talk about when we are doing let's I'll call this the three keys of quants prep. So this is the three parts of my session today with you, right? What you have to do, how do you do it, and the key things to keep in mind while doing it, right? So without any further ado, I'll talk about other questions you might have towards the end of the webinar. Upendra is talking about uh, free the change in the pattern. How does it affect things? One, and second, whatever other questions you have, we'll pick it up towards the end of the session, if that's okay for all of you, right? So first of all, let's define the outline. And the outline is pretty much defined, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but the outline is pretty much defined in my quants book. Most of you must be having a version of it. And when I was writing the quants book, I kind of thought that before that, I used to see people doing 20 chapters of preparation. And problem with 20 chapters, it's too many to plan and execute. It's too many to plan and execute. When you're doing something like 20 chapters in your preparation, it becomes too much to plan and execute, because what happens is you will not get keep control. It's very difficult to keep track of 20 things in life, right? So imagine a duck which has 20 children, and you try to imagine it trying to take care of them versus six. So I divided, when I was writing my first version of the Quants book. I divided my book into six blocks. Preparation wise, I tell people to divide it further down to five blocks, five areas. So block one is number systems and progression. It's actually settled in pretty effectively in terms of the prep process. That if you focus on five areas to control, block 2 3 preparation wise, I call this, or I suggest that you should think of block 2 3 as one area, because this whole thing can be clustered together as arithmetic, although individual chapters have their variations. But broadly, this is, I mean, what you do in the kind of stuff you have to do in a chapter like percentages, for example, is very connected to the kind of stuff you do in interests and profit and loss. And if you want to divide block 2 3, I'll tell you how to divide it. What is the If you want to divide arithmetic into subparts, it can to manage, it can be divided into three subparts. I'll just let you know how to do that. The next block is the geometry mensuration. उसमें एक chapter और है जो मैंने यहाँ नहीं type किया, that's coordinate geometry. This is your portion, right? And then you got block 5, which is functions, inequalities, logs, and equations. This equations includes your quadratic equations. The equation includes your quadratic equations. So this is block 5. And finally, block 6 is permutation, combination, probability, and set theory. So typical, and I'll come down to the timelines. One last aspect of the session will be what to do, how to do, key things you keep in mind, and then I'll also talk about timelines, because we have a mix of, I believe we have a mix of CAT 20 and 21 aspirants today. So we will talk about timelines for each of this. I mean, even if you're going for CAT 20 or 21, the what you have to do does not change, right? So you'll have to do this, but of course your timelines will be different, so maybe hence your depth of coverage will be different. Obviously CAT 21 people can cover stuff to a much greater depth than CAT 20 people, but I'll let you know exactly what you need to do in this. Is the screen being shared? Yes, I'm sharing the screen. Diptesh says I can't see anything. Let me just stop the screen sharing and show it again. Can you see that? Nitin, dikh raha hai? You can see it, right? Good. So so let's come back to this. Hi everybody, welcome. So let's come back to this. So this is basically, so we'll look at the timelines logically a little bit later, right? Uh, so ये basic portion outline तो यही है. Now in every chapter, the what includes three parts. The first part is three phases of preparation that you take yourself through. Phase 1 of preparation, phase 2 of preparation, and phase 3 of preparation. I'm talking about the ideal structure. So when you're studying a chapter or when you're studying block 1, number system and progressions, you'll take yourself through phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. So phase 1 mein, what you do essentially is you do concepts and you do what I refer to the first 200 odd questions of each chapter. And typically you do that at the LOD 1 and LOD 2 levels. So typically when you solve my books LOD 1 and 2, I would think that that would be your phase 1 of the preparation. Phase 2 of your prep, so concepts, and this is what I refer to when I say the first 200 odd questions. I call it the initial problem solving. It is just coupling you into the chapter. It is your initial problem solving process. That is what phase 1 does for you. It takes you through your initial problem solving, which gives you the uh, a complete picture of what are the kind of questions that would come in that topic. Now, depending on the depth of the chapter and how deep you need to go, you introduce a phase 2 on the same topic, and the phase 2 should be kind of separated from phase 1 by some time gap. Some temporal gap should be there. Of course, cat 21 people can even keep temporal gaps of 30-40 days. But if you are cat 20 aspirant, maybe your temporal gap might be just 6 days, 7 days between phase 1 of a chapter and phase 2 of a chapter, right? And even if you're starting now, although most of you would not be, you would have already started and you have done some chapters. But even if for somebody who's starting now, there is a feasibility to at least go to phase 2 and maybe even phase 3 for the major chapters, for the more important chapters. So कैसे है वो feasibility, वो timelines में explain करूंगा तुम लोगों को लास्ट पार्ट ऑफ द सेशन में. तो फेज 2 जो हो जाता है उसका उसका प्रिंसिपल ऑब्जेक्टिव हो जाता है redo the questions. Two objectives that has phase 2. One is redo the questions, and the second is increase your question exposure. Redo the questions and increase your question exposure. These are two kind of stuff that you do. So you might decide on individual chapters that I need to pick up 200 more questions. You might want to decide that on some chapters. In some chapters, you might decide, okay, I'll pick up 50 more questions. So you'll get to know the depth of the chapters while as you move on. But an important component of phase 2 is to redo all the questions. And of course, when you go through your LOD 1 and 2 the first time, and here I'm talking about the how to do aspect. When you go through the LOD 1 and 2 the first time, it is not necessary that you'll be able to solve all. It might not be necessary that all the questions will get solved by you. So in this redo version, you also look at those questions which you have left behind, which were not solved by you. So this is what you need to remember. And on an individual chapter, थोड़ा सा timelines से बता दो, because without that it does not sound very comprehensive what I'm talking about here. So an individual chapter, let's say a chapter like averages. What is the phase 1 time? What is the phase 2 time? I mean, in terms of the sit down study time, phase 1 might be anywhere between 6 to 8 hours, and phase 2 might just be 4 hours. तो उतना टाइम तो कैट 20 एस्पिरेंट के पास भी है. If you are very weak at the chapter, phase 1 might be 12 hours on a chapter like averages, right? And phase 3 is more of, again, more of redoing everything, because by phase 2 what I would expect is that you would have had enough question exposure required. So there would be population of questions on every chapter. More on that when I come to the how to do stuff. So the population of the chapter will start going up, and it'll get adequate. And Hence, in phase 3, you're not really looking at more question exposure. There'll be a natural increase in question exposure in phase 3, especially if you're preparing in long time frames. There'll be natural expansion of increase in question exposure because you'll be getting exposed in two dimensions. One is in a mock test, you'll get exposure. So your mock test work should happen in phase 3, of course. So if you take 40 mock tests, you will get access to each chapter pay 2 questions on an average. So you'll get 80 questions on every chapter. These will be the exam kind of questions and the really thought provoking questions. So this will be the third part, the mock test, and the second part of it, a natural expansion of questions, and that will happen in phase 3 for a chapter. We'll be looking at the previous year questions, right? So here, this is where I come in again on the timelines. If you are a CAT 20 aspirant, then what you could shorten your cycle by is this. What you could do to shorten your cycle is that you don't do question exposure here, and your question exposure can just be questions from here. You just put this there. Ideal नहीं है वो, मेरे लिए ideal 3 phases ये है, but in case you don't have that time, then this will also work equally well. मतलब एक होता है ना कि एक गाड़ी में, suppose your car has a 22-inch tire, ठीक है, and you have a puncture and on a long journey, and then you in a village you go to a puncture guy, and he says, boss मेरे पास 22 इंच का टायर तो नहीं है, 21 इंच का है, लगा देता हूँ, चल जाएगा काम. ये वही है, ठीक है. One is what is ideal, and the other is what you can do to make sure that you navigate the journey. ठीक है ना, because we have to be practical about achieving things. We are preparing in a context, है ना. So I'm just looking at the questions now. The new book has been released now. I just got a message from my publishers today कि अब available हो गया है. What are the questions are there? I hope the screen visibility part is over. You're all able to see the screen. When I was talking about starting for CAT 20 for PhD admission, do you have enough time for CAT prep? I'm going to anyway cover that part, Vinay. It's short. I'll not lie to you. The timing is short, but there are people who do it in this time. You are eligible, Saujanya. Saujanya is asking, she got 82 in 10 and 16 12. I'll take these questions towards the end because otherwise it becomes a stop-start kind of webinar, right? So don't bother with me with questions right now. We will come to most of your questions will get answered by me naturally. I just going through all the questions by all the people. I will make sure that I'll answer most of the questions. और जो क्वेश्चन आंसर नहीं होता है वो तुम लोग लास्ट में पूछ लेना मेरे से. नहीं तो as a presenter and as a speaker, I don't like stop start communication. So I want you to give a clear picture, or there's a picture in my mind which I want to communicate to you, right? And if your questions obviously are not part of the natural flow, some of you are asking questions that will get covered towards the end. So just wait for the questions. I will ask you. You have got the facility to, of course, type and send me messages, but I'm not going to look at them right now. I'll look at them towards the end, around 1:30, 1:40, if that is okay for everybody, right? So ये structure याद रखो. Just keep this in mind, and this session will be available on YouTube by tonight, so you can also watch it on our channel on YouTube. So this is the what to do. Now comes the important part of the how, because this is critical for us. ठीक है ना? So if you look at the 3 phases, phase 1, I mean, one thing you need to understand very clearly is that 90% of CAT prep in quants, also in DINLR, 90% plus of CAT prep is inside questions. It is not in the theory. I hope most of you realize that. If you don't realize that, take it from me right now. 90% plus questions are 90% plus uh, of what of cat prep is inside questions. So if you do a very strong round of theory, you do the theory, you do the theory, and you keep doing the theory, and you complete a very strong round of the theory, and then you go for the CAT, you will be just 10% prepared. Maybe I can stretch it to 20 at max, but 80% of the preparation will not happen if you enter just this cycle. So so essentially, when we talk about since 90% of it is in questions, uh, what is very important for you is to populate. I mean, imagine every chapter is like a box, and initially your knowledge in this box is an empty box. So the chapter is like a box which is divided between the reds and the greens. The red is what you don't know in this chapter, the situations and the reactions you are not equipped to handle in the chapter, and the green is what you know in the chapter because you might have studied in school. Thoda bahut yaad hoga. Some of you are engineers, so you might be better at it. So this typical starting point division for weak students would be something like 10% आता है, 90% नहीं आता है. For others, this line might be anywhere between 10% to 60-70%. I've even seen people who have started at 80%. That also happens, of course, with very strong quant skills. So a general point where this line would be, for weak students it will be around 30%. For strong students it will be around 50%. Right? So that is where this will be. And the story of a prep, essentially, the story of a prep can be visualized as this. The story of a prep can be visualized as this, that the story of a prep is basically as you move on, or as you move on from one level of prep to the next level, your prep story essentially is about pushing the red up and increasing your greens. The green is what you know, the red is what you do not know. And every time you come back to a chapter and study, some amount of pushing up is bound to happen. The red will get squeezed by some amount. So and the other thing that I have mentioned in the what to do and part of the how to do, the what to do is phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. So when you do phase 1, which is concepts, and when you do concepts, उसमें भी थोड़ा सा मतलब differentials रहेगा. Same concept for somebody. Concepts में तीन तरह की चीज करते हो तुम. When you do the concepts of a topic, you might be doing three kinds of things. Some concepts you already know, so it might just be a refreshment of the concept. So one is concept refresh. Second is concept. So this is just a refresh, a review. The second is a concept repair. So there's some concepts that you knew in school, but they have become hazy as you've gone beyond school. So the second thing you do is repair concepts when you do your concepts. And the third would be there'll be stuff that you might not have heard in school. So it's concept installation. So obviously the amount of work you need to do on different concepts and the amount of time you require will depend on, obviously, the installation of new concepts will take you the maximum time, and refreshing of concept will take you the least time, and repair will be somewhere in between these two. So coming back, your phase 1 is concepts plus initial problem solving, and when you do that, there'll definitely be a change between your chapter boxes. If this is your opening chapter box, where let's say it was a 30%, in this box you might be at 60%. There will be definitely a development. Even and I come across a lot of people, and this is in the context of the how. A lot of people come to me very frustrated कि sir math solve ही नहीं हो रहा है, LOD2 तो बनता ही नहीं है. So I ask them this question, and this is important part of the how. That of course, as I said, when you go through your initial problem solving, and I define LOD 1 and 2 as initial problem solving of a chapter, because it gives you a fair idea of the kind of questions and fair idea of the kind of twists and turns, the language, the triggers inside the question. LOD 1 and 2 पे तुमको काफी काफी exposure मिल जाएगा. A lot of people say that LOD 1 and 2 is enough for CAT prep, but when I'm preparing, telling you for a QA prep session, how to prepare for QA, so my focus is on telling you the best approaches and the most fail-safe approaches, something that can't fail. If you can do this, I'm defining what in engineering is called the Carnot's engine, the 100% efficient engine. You try to get as close to it as possible, right? So 60%, maybe for somebody, so quick learners के लिए हो सकता है 80% भी पहुंच जाए एक राउंड में. किसी के लिए 40, और poor learners के लिए it might just be stuck at from 30 to 50 only. But what will happen is that the green will definitely go up. And this is where I want to come in about again one part of the house. So this is what you're trying to do. And as you keep trying to do the stuff, you keep trying to, every time you go through that topic again, and if you think about it in one more way, it'll make sense to you. And I'm sorry, I'm not taking any questions right now because I first want to get my presentation through. So I'm not looking at the questions sent to me. I'll take your questions at around 120, 130 if I've not dealt with any of the topics which you are going to ask me about. So all outlier questions outside the key topic that I'm doing today, I'll take towards once I finish what I have to talk to you about. So please don't mind those of you who did not heard it last time, because the webinar is coming in, going out webinar. So I just wanted to announce that again. So as things keep going, once you get to the 90% point, your target is around 90% point on a chapter. If you can get to the 90% point, you're as good as the 100 percentiler. You can compete with him. The target is not 100%. Please remember that. This is an important aspect of the how. You don't have to go after every question, right? Because in CAT, the ideal strategy is 34 questions came, you knew 30, and you could solve 25. This is the ideal conversion in QA and CAT. If 34 questions came and you knew 34, perhaps you did a little bit of too much study, because taking it from 90 to 100% will involve at least 3 more rounds. And that I would suggest that if you have that much time, put it on the language, put it on your profile development, put it on other things rather than on quants, right? So coming back to this thing, uh, so if you have understood this concept of the green and the reds, or understood that basic movement, one thing which is important is that the phases uh, should have certain timelines in between. There has to be a temporal gap between two phases. It can't be immediate कि आज 2 दिन में first phase कर लिए, फिर अगले 2 दिन में second phase कर लिए. It won't work that way. It's like suppose you have to spend 30 hours on a chapter. So it is better to divide 15 hours on phase 1, 6, 7 hours on phase 2, 5 hours on phase 3, and 3 hours on phase 4. Phase 4 is just repeat of phase 3. Just you keep redoing what you have done. Reason is it's similar to planting a sapling. You plant a seed inside the ground, and let's say that seed requires 100 buckets of water over the next 3 months. So you say, okay, I'm very hardworking, so what I'll do is I'll put all the 100 buckets on day one, and I don't have time later to come back to this, so all 100 buckets में एक दिन में डाल देता हूँ. Will the seed grow? Just like the seed requires that temporal gap in between two buckets of water, you require temporal gaps between two times that you are coming back to a chapter. Because what happens during that temporal gap, you don't realize it, but things are seeping in. You have had experiences, and you will when you go through your questions, there'll be four kinds. When you go through your first round of your initial problem solving, there would be four kinds of reactions that you would come across in questions. There'll be four kinds of. The first, note it in this form: questions which went through straight for you, no issues. You started reading the question, you could just go through the question straight through. Second, questions that had a struggle for you. You understood some part, then did not understand some part, then you struggled with it, and you wrestled with that question, and ultimately the question went through. That's the second part, the second structure, right? And the third structure is where you struggled with the question created a struggle for you, but at the end of it, the question did not get solved. And the fourth experience you'll have when you go through your first round of your LOD1 exercise and the LOD2, level of difficulty 1 and level of difficulty 2 exercise, when you do the first round of it, you will have these four experiences. The fourth experience is that there'll be some questions in which you have no idea what to do, right? So I'm looking at all your questions, but I'm not responding right now, right? I'm not responding right now. We'll take all questions towards the end of the webinar. I don't mind stretching it by half an hour for so that I can answer every question of yours. So all of you who asked me questions, Ishani, Dhanshri, Ishita, Rani, Vivek, Vaishnavi, Barry, Deepshika, Shreya, and everybody else. There are 15, 20 people who asked questions. I'm not taking your questions right now because I don't want to break my structural communication to you. I want you to get that structure first, and then we'll talk about the questions, your queries. Okay. So first, understand what I want to tell you, because there's a structure what I wanted to present, and let's first understand that structure. Most of your questions will get anyway answered about QA will anyway QA prep strategy will get answered through this, right? So otherwise it creates a lot of stop start in presentations. So I'm just repeating that for people who came in new. So keep your questions with you, and I'll ask you to put them back. You can keep it copy pasted. I can ask you to put them back uh, once I start taking questions. So ये चार एक्सपीरियंसेस होंगे, और इसका प्रोपोर्शन दो चीज पे डिपेंड करेगा कि तुम्हारा प्रोपोर्शन किसमें क्या है. इज इट 50, 20, 20, 10, or is it 30, 40, 20, 10, or is it simply 30, 40, 30, 0? What it depends on three things actually. It depends on your initial skill level, how skilled you are at maths. So naturally, the lesser skilled you are, the more it will gravitate towards a heavier bottom. If the bottom becomes heavy, obviously you are less in control of the chapter. So if your initial skill level is lower, the bottom becomes heavier. If for lower initial skill level. Second is also depends on the level of difficulty. As the level of difficulty goes up, the bottom becomes heavier. So your bottom, this is the bottom. Questions you couldn't solve after a struggle, and questions you could not understand at all. So this is the bottom part of this matrix. So obviously on LOD1, this bottom will be lighter than on LOD2. That's natural to expect. And I guess these two parts, these two things, and of course your ability to think inside the questions, or ability to learn. That's the third part of it. Ability to see the right things inside the questions. So the lower this is, the heavier your bottom will become here, right? But it's perfectly fine. Don't worry. Don't worry about a heavy bottom here. It's perfectly fine, because this is something that happens to everybody. And I can tell you that even with a 10, 30, 30, 30 structure, if you go through the multiple phases I'm talking about, you go through phase one, then you give a break, come back to phase two. And as I said, in phase two, your first objective in first phase one was what? You're doing concepts and you're doing a first round of your initial problem solving. So what people do, one of the critical parts, and this is part of the third part of what I wanted to tell you, key things to keep in mind. One of the first parts to do. Barry is asking a relevant question, so I'll take that. When to do the taste of the block, taste of the exams exercises? That should be either in phase two or phase three. That I've told you. So phase two में क्या काम था? Redo. So what will you redo? You'll redo these two experiences, and plus redo, and also you try to get through these questions. And that is where I wanted to talk to you about the attitude that you take. Let's say you went through and you're very weak at maths, and people come to me frustrated कि सर सॉल्व ही नहीं हो रहा है, LOD 2 तो कुछ नहीं हो रहा है. तो ask them कि कितने क्वेश्चन देखे, 50 क्वेश्चन देख लिए, कितने सॉल्व हुए? सर 8 ही सॉल्व हुए, 42 सॉल्व नहीं हुए. सो अगर ऐसा कुछ है तो ये 42 इसमें आ रहे हैं और ये 8 इसमें स्प्लिट हो रहे हैं. So I tell this guy who's coming to me, and most of these 8 would also have been more of the second kind than the first kind for this person. So I tell such people, rather than focusing on the 42 losses you have to the questions, why don't you focus on the 8 wins? You created 8 wins out of 50. Let's say every question is a wrestling match. You have won 8 matches. So what you are focusing on is the 42 losses. And what you need to realize is जिस दिन तुम इसको अपने से कर लोगे, तुम तैयार हो जाओगे. You will be ready for the exam. Imagine you come across a question bank. You come across a question bank of questions. Imagine you come across a question bank of questions and everything goes smoothly with you. हर क्वेश्चन आराम से सॉल्व हो जाता है, सब कुछ ये था. तो इसका तो दो ही मतलब निकल सकता है. एक मतलब निकल सकता है कि तुम तैयार हो, यू आर रेडी, कल जाके कैट दे दो, इस टॉपिक पे रेडी हो तुम. दूसरा मतलब निकल सकता है, अगर ये सही नहीं है, दूसरा मतलब ये निकल सकता है द क्वेश्चन बैंक वाज नॉट रेलेवेंट, टू इजी. And please remember, when you talk about problem solving, the problem solving in CAT is not infinite. You don't need to do infinite questions. Your problem solving becomes infinite if you start doing this. You had these experiences, questions that did not get solved after a struggle also. And the third one, fourth experience is this: तुमने क्या किया इन क्वेश्चंस के साथ कि तुमने सॉल्यूशंस पढ़ लिए, या फिर तुमने किसी से पूछ लिया कि इसका सॉल्यूशन बता दो. This is the best way, in my view. This, when you extract these, and this will be very different for two different people. For Tabassum it will be different, for Siva it will be different, for Barry it will be different. Which questions go where? For each one of you this will be different. So you have created a very, very mapped question bank for yourself कि बेटा इसको कर लो तो तुम तैयार हो, जब ये कर लोगे तो तुम्हारा स्किल चेंज हो जाएगा। तो मान लो तुमने 50 क्वेश्चन LOD 2 के किए, 4 घंटे लगाए, 4-5 घंटे लगाए, उसमें 25 क्वेश्चन यहाँ निकले, तो योर टारगेट इज कि ये 25 जब मैं कर लूंगा तो मेरा काम हो जाएगा, आई बी रेडी। एंड द बेस्ट वे टू वेस्ट इट इज, जैसे ही ये हुआ, जैसे ही कुछ प्रॉब्लम हुआ, नहीं हो रहा है, तो तुम सॉल्यूशंस पढ़ने लगो और यू आस्क समवन। दैट्स द बेस्ट वे टू वेस्ट दिस रिसोर्स। और जब ये, व्हेन यू गिव योरसेल्फ दिस ऑप्शन, व्हेन यू आर गोइंग थ्रू अ क्वेश्चन बैंक, यू गिव योरसेल्फ दिस ऑप्शन कि आई रीड द सॉल्यूशन एंड आस्क समवन। When you give yourself this option, what happens is you will not struggle enough to get these questions through also. इसका स्ट्रगल भी तुम अवॉइड कर दोगे और तुम सॉल्यूशंस पढ़ लोगे, तो ये वाली लर्निंग भी तुम मिस कर जाओगे फिर। सो सॉल्यूशन पढ़ने से मैथ्स अगर हो जाता तो कोई भी हो, किसी का भी हो, मैं 5,000 क्वेश्चन का सॉल्यूशन लिख देता हूँ, वीडियो बना देता हूँ 5,000 क्वेश्चन का, तुम देख लो, जाके कैट पे कर लेना, होगा क्या? इट इज अ कंप्लीट वेस्ट ऑफ क्वेश्चंस। एक तो तुम 4-5 घंटा, ये क्वेश्चंस तुमको 5 घंटे के एफर्ट के बाद मिले हैं, after you got these questions after 5 hours of effort. So you need to nurture these questions because this is where a learning opportunity is, right? और अगर तुम ये करने लगोगे, so I'll give you a sample example. I'll give you a sample example going back to the chapters. And I was saying that the number of questions required is not infinite. It's a finite number. So if I go back to the what to do, a chapter like averages, मतलब I can show you, if you look at a chapter like averages, including phase 1 and the questions you add in phase 2, maybe 200 questions in phase 1 and 100-150 questions in phase 2, इतने क्वेश्चंस तुम अगर जो प्रोसेस मैं बता रहा हूँ इससे कर लोगे तो तुम्हारा काम हो जाएगा। it's a upper limit chapter of 300, हो सकता है 200 में ही काम हो जाए तुम्हारा, but when I'm telling you I'm adding a factor of safety involved in this, तो 300 क्वेश्चन का चैप्टर है ये, only it's a 300 क्वेश्चन चैप्टर। और अगर तुम जो क्वेश्चन नहीं सॉल्व हो रहे, दो क्वेश्चंस के साथ तुम सॉल्यूशन रीडिंग और आस्किंग करने लगोगे, तो आई कैन गारंटी यू दिस चैप्टर विल बिकम 1500 क्वेश्चंस फॉर यू। 1500 क्वेश्चन करोगे तब जाके 300 क्वेश्चन का लर्निंग मिलेगा तुमको। सो इट्स नॉट अबाउट देखो व्हाट पीपल डू, एंड दिस समथिंग आई डोंट लाइक पीपल डूइंग। तुम ऑब्जेक्टिव, तुम्हारा जब तुम क्वेश्चन बैंक कर रहे हो, तुम्हारा ऑब्जेक्टिव हो जाता है बिकॉज यू आर साइकोलॉजिकली ट्रेन टू डू दैट, कि टिक कर देते हैं क्वेश्चन को, क्वेश्चन हो गया, टिक करो, बट ये वाला टिकिंग नहीं चलेगा। खुद से करके करना है, टिक करना है, करो, बट ये वाला ये वाला नहीं चलेगा कि सॉल्यूशन पढ़ लेते हैं और समझ जाते हैं क्वेश्चन में क्या था। और प्लीज रिमेंबर, when you do a chapter, again this is back to the how part. So मेरा जो mindset, मेरा जो thought process, if you do things ideally, number systems is a 500 question chapter which in a shorter frame can be done in 300 questions, since I'm talking to CAT 20 people also. Progression is a 200 question chapter. और मेरा पॉइंट ये है कि अगर अच्छे क्वालिटी के 500 क्वेश्चन उठा लो, तुम इसको कर लो, उसके बाद कैट 99 से 2008 देख लो और 2017, 18, 19 देख लो। 9 to 16 के पेपर नहीं मिलेंगे तुमको बिकॉज वो पेपर्स अवेलेबल नहीं है, कैट आईएम्स डिड नॉट रिलीज इट। कोई बोलता है कि मेरे पास है तो झूठ बोल रहा है, बिकॉज कैट 2009 में 40 पेपर थे, तो कुछ भी 20 क्वेश्चन बना के बोल दे कि ये मेरा कैट पेपर था based on memory, you can't challenge him in court and you cannot challenge him anywhere. And a lot of people, everybody is not very honest in this world. So a lot of people are doing that around. So please remember this. आई हैव सीन बुक्स इन विच मेरे डीआई बुक का क्वेश्चन को उठा के डाल दिया है, सेइंग कि वो कैट क्वेश्चन है। मेरे को पता है कि वो क्वेश्चन मैंने क्रिएट किया था, and they have put that question in past CAT papers book, saying that this is a CAT question because my students sent me that question. And last year this happened. I was revising my DI book, and a student sent me a question from some other book, and it was very clear it's a book image. So, and I could see that the font of the book used was not my font. McGraw-Hill has a different font, so it was an Ariant font. So I asked him कि ये कहाँ से मिला question तुमको? और because I just revised that. I mean, normally I don't remember all the questions in my book, but in my books. But since I just revised that book 1 month ago and looked at all the questions, I knew that I remember that question. So I asked this guy, ये question कहाँ से मिला तुमको? तो he said that sir ये past CAT paper है। मैं बोला कौन से year का है? बोला 2013। हम बोले तुमको कैसे पता चला 2013 है? सर ये book में दिया हुआ है। And I knew that that question was something that I had created and it had no relation to what CAT has ever asked. So please don't look for 9 to 16. But my premise is this: इतने क्वेश्चन करने के बाद अगर मेरे प्रोसेस से इतने क्वेश्चन करते हो, उतने क्वेश्चन करने के बाद तुम अगर ये पेपर्स देख लेते हो, and those of you going for CAT 2021 can also look at the 20 paper and look at all these papers, and then you look at all these papers and you frame or you try to think of how many of these questions will you face a problem in. और अगर ऐसा होता है कि you don't have a problem in these any of these questions, everything went okay, there's no question which there's a problem, then you will be really unlucky that in your CAT when you go to give the CAT उसी साल तुमको प्रॉब्लम होता है। ठीक है, so this is a good indicator, best way to indicate कि you're ready कि last 20 years के CAT पेपर में मेरे को दिक्कत नहीं हो रहा है। तो इस साल के CAT पेपर में हो सकता है एक चैप्टर का आ जाए आउटलायर, वन चैप्टर का 2 आउटलायर क्वेश्चन आ जाए जो नहीं सॉल्व हो तुमसे, लेकिन बाकी हर चैप्टर में थोड़ी होगा वो, राइट? So the numbers for each of these chapters, let me just quickly put them around for you. And I'm using a safety margin of around 1.5 to 2. So what the numbers I'm telling you, uska divide by 1.5 और multiply by 2 by 3 में भी शायद तुम्हारा काम हो सकता है. These are the number of questions you have to go through, including your phase 1 and phase 2 of this. And as I said, phase 3 में तुम्हारा natural addition होगा. phase 3 में जब तुम mock test में जाओगे और previous year questions देखोगे तो there will be a natural addition to your question exposure. So I'm talking about ideal preparation where you do these many questions including your phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 1 where you're doing the initial problem solving, and phase 2 where you're doing the question exposure. So these are the numbers. I would feel safe if somebody tells me कि सर मैंने 300 क्वेश्चन निकाल लिए खुद से परसेंटेजेस में. I would feel safe about his abilities inside the exam. Because as a trainer, the way I look at it is कि जब मैं CAT का क्वेश्चन देखता हूँ, my thinking goes back process. कि what should I get a guy who's starting today to do during his journey so that he should be able to come into the CAT and solve this. So what are the tasks? So that is how I've mapped my mind with respect to my training skills and training thought processes. And that's what we do at Mindworks basically, where we try to guide you through this. And I'll come back to the Mindworks philosophies a little bit later. Interest is maybe 200 questions. I mean, this is the number of questions if somebody has done at LOD 1, 2 Milake, I would feel safe about him in the CAT on the chapters. 200, ratio proportion is 300, deeper chapter. Time speed distance is around 500, 400 plus because it's got a lot of sub chapters. Boats, clocks, हर पे 25-25 भी क्वेश्चन करोगे तो 400 बन जाएगा इधर. Geometry is around 400 to 500 questions. The feel safe point. Mensuration is 250. Functions is around maybe 400. It's a deep chapter again. Inequalities, if you're doing functions well, inequalities is just 150 questions. Logs, 100 questions are more than enough. Equations is maybe around 300 questions. Permutation combination is 250 questions. Probability is 150 to 200. And set theory is 100 to 150. So this is what you have to do. And as I said, once you go through your first round, there'll be a mix of experiences. You come back to all the questions. So second round में तुम्हारा learning opportunities जो है वो चारों experiences में. When you come back to the same question bank the second time, in the second phase of your preparation, you will have learning opportunities in all the four phases, in all the four question types. यहाँ पे I told you there are four kinds of experiences you'll have with questions in the first round. So those numbers I hope you have noted, they are part of the do. That is the do part of it, right? And every chapter has a watch and learn component to it and a do component to it. So those do component is non-negotiable. The watch and learn component might vary, again depending on his skill level. So for somebody who's highly skilled, in a chapter like averages, if I show him 20 questions, that's enough. He does not need to watch more. But somebody who's poorly skilled, he might need to see 50 to 70 questions before he starts to get control of the chapter. So you will have to take a very personal call in this part also. कि मेरे को कितना देखना है. That's what we do at Mindworks. What we do at Mindworks is we do multiple rounds of every chapter with multiple teachers. And Nitin who's in the class gave a very strong view of that, how it helped him. So maybe I'll ask him to speak towards the end again. Nitin, if you can have your mic ready. So what we do at Mindworks is we give you the concepts first, and we give you the concepts of every chapter in a very crisp, precise manner, because we realize that it's not about कि हम तुमको 10,000 घंटा class दे दें. It's about giving you, I mean, doable stuff in very concrete boxes. So you'll have, let's say you talk about a chapter like averages, you'll have my concepts, you'll have basic sessions by at least 2-3 more faculties if you're going for CAT 21. CAT 20 में भी 2-3 faculties का है, CAT 21 में तो हो सकता है 5-6 faculty हम लोग introduce कर दें, जो concepts तुमको अपने अपने तरह से पढ़ाएंगे उसी चीज का. तुम देख लो. I mean, what I say, obviously if you're joining Mindworks, you'll do my sessions. वो assumed है, तो मेरा concept देखोगे, उसके बाद तुमको और चाहिए तो you have these options. And then we have what we do is we have booster sessions and advanced sessions on every topic, and these are basically problem solving sessions. So we tell you take a pick, तुमको कितना watch करना है, you take a pick. हम थोड़ी restrict करेंगे, मैं BC दिया हूँ तुमको, हम 200 दे देंगे तुमको हर chapter पे. I'll give you 200 watch. तुमको कितना देखना है तुम decide करो, because you have your time, you have your timelines, and you have the do cannot be compromised. तो एवरेज में 300 क्वेश्चन अगर तुमको करना है तो 300 करना है खुद से, सिर्फ वॉच करके नहीं होने वाला है. You decide how much you need to watch. So I'm not restricting it. I might have a student who's joining me who might need watch 150 before he can do. So my system should have that for him. But some other student might say, okay, I'll do the concepts, I'll do the questions from there. When I go into the do part of it, मेरे से हो जा रहा है chapter, and I'm ready. I feel confident about this chapter. So I don't want to do the watch too much on that chapter. Maybe I might do a couple of sessions of watch of faculties I like, because I might want to say, okay, let me see what it does, and I might see that at 2x, because तुम्हारा watch time भी limited है ना, ऐसा थोड़ी है कि तुम infinite watch time कर सकते हो, right? So this is the breakdown of how you will define, or how we structure it. So coming back to the learning opportunities, one learning opportunity is, this is learning opportunity 1. In your second round, this is learning opportunity 1. What is learning opportunity 1? Learning opportunity 1 is when you go back to a question that went like this for you in the first round, you try to see whether there's any other way, new ways of doing it. You try to increase your speed at doing it. You try to eliminate the need for second reading in this question. That's very, very critical. You know, this most people are not able to spot this during their CAT prep process. कि तुम अगर अपना सेकंड रीडिंग एलिमिनेट कर दो तो तुम्हारा 5-7 क्वेश्चन का अटेम्प्ट बढ़ जाएगा अपने आप एग्जाम में. And most people are not able to spot that, right? What and through habit that we have been inbuilt through school, we have been told infinite times in school कि question को 2 बार पढ़ लो 3 बार पढ़ लो. CAT is an exam, or any aptitude exam is an exam where you have to read the question only once and solve it. Because if you are doing this, you are 30 to 40 seconds behind me in every question by default, apart from the processes differences. So यहाँ पे तुम्हारा new ways of solving, speed increase, getting better with the reactions so that you eliminate the second reading. That's the first learning opportunity. The second learning opportunity is when this happens. Questions where this happened. So if this did not go that way, this did not go that way, right? That did not happen with you. These kind of questions. So the process was not natural for you. The process was not natural for you. And since the process is not natural, your learning opportunity too is to make it natural. Make it your default reaction. You did something in this question that got you to the end. It got you to the end. You did something in this question that allowed you to reach the end. So your learning opportunity too is to make sure that you make it naturalized and embedded in your mind. So you will make sure that next time that you're doing a question like that, these things don't happen. You eliminate these things. And slowly but surely, over a couple of redos, this starts becoming this. Right? And I'm going to show you the third part, the most important part, is that CAT is completely about repetitive logic. Quants is completely about repetitive logic. And I'm just coming to that part. The third learning opportunity is those questions which you had. Let me just rub out this sheet. So I'll give you the third learning opportunity now. And you know, people come and ask me कि कितना time चाहिए CAT prepare करने के लिए, how much time should I put in, etc. So it completely depends on how quick you're learning it. ठीक है? So जो question तुम नहीं बना पाते हो, फर्स्ट राउंड में जो थर्ड क्वेश्चन हुआ था ये वाला, और एक थंब रूल बना लो कि whenever you are doing a question, you will not have more than 10 minutes on a question. 10 मिनट्स का अपर लिमिट बना लो. अगर तुमको लगता है कि कुछ क्वेश्चन तुम्हारे 15 मिनट देने से हो जाते हैं तो 15 मिनट का अपर लिमिट बना दो. बट डोंट थिंक ऑन अ क्वेश्चन इन एनी राउंड, डोंट थिंक ऑन अ क्वेश्चन फॉर मोर देन 10-15 मिनट्स. सो इफ यू कांट गेट अ क्वेश्चन थ्रू इन 10-15 मिनट्स, तुम अगर होता क्या है कि 1 घंटे तुम एक ही क्वेश्चन में बैठ जाते हो और उसके बाद एंड ऑफ द डे पे लगता है कि 3 ही क्वेश्चन देख पाए, तो इट बिकम्स वेरी फ्रस्ट्रेटिंग. सो दैट्स व्हाई आई पुट दिस लिमिट. बिकॉज अगर तुम थोड़ा बहुत स्किल्ड हो या उस क्वेश्चन के आसपास स्किल्ड हो, तो नॉर्मली वो क्वेश्चन 10 मिनट के अंदर हो जाएगा तुमसे. बहुत रेयर क्वेश्चन होंगे जो 12वें मिनट में होगा या 13वें में होगा. तो तुम ये टाइमलाइन जज कर लो. यू माइट से कि 10 सर ने 10 बोला, लेकिन मेरे को लगता है कि मेरे लिए 8 मिनट में जो होता है वो 8 मिनट में हो जाता है, तो नहीं होता है. सो यू टेक दैट टाइम लिमिट, यू डिफाइन दैट टाइम लिमिट फॉर यू. तो दिस इज योर बिगेस्ट लर्निंग अपॉर्चुनिटी, because there are certain things inside this question that you are not able to do, and these are the things you need to learn. So if you come back to it, to this first round में तो किसी से मत पूछो. सेकंड राउंड में जब आते हो, if you have somebody who can help you, ask him specific question. Don't ask him ये question कैसे solve करना है. Ask him, और या फिर अगर तुम solution ही पढ़ रहे हो तो inside the solution try to see कि what specific thing that was I missing at this point. Suppose the question had written something, and you need to understand that the process of solving a question is what I call as the trigger reaction structure. Every question in maths gives you triggers. Every question in maths that has ever been written or ever been created has triggers inside it. So you read something inside a question, at certain points the triggers trigger off, and it gives you are supposed to react to it. A maths question is almost like a GPS reading process. The GPS machine tells you go 100 meters and take a left. The maths question tells you that. The only thing is, can you read it or not? You see a second trigger, you get reaction 2. You see a third trigger, you get reaction 3. And there are two kinds of triggers. One trigger is in the language of the question. The second kind of trigger is inside the mixture of the reaction. So what happens is, at times reaction 1 and reaction 3 have to be mixed to give you reaction 4. And a typical maths question goes this way. It asks a question and you have to mix reaction 2 and reaction 4 to get the outcome. That's what a typical maths question goes through. This is the successful solving of a maths question. Why you will not be able to solve a maths question will be either you miss this, you're not able to react, reaction 3 तुम्हारे पास नहीं है, ये लिखा हुआ है, इससे क्या करना है तुम नहीं जानते हो, you don't know, right? So when you go into a question, why could I not solve this question, and you focus on this trigger कि इसका मतलब मेरे को नहीं आता है, तो तुमको यही सीखना है. जो पुअर लर्नर्स होते हैं वो करते क्या है, अब ये ट्रिगर मैंने एक क्वेश्चन में डाल दिया, क्वेश्चन सॉल्व नहीं हुआ उनसे बिकॉज दे डोंट अंडरस्टैंड दिस. So what they do is they go out, they ask somebody कैसे solve करना है, question सीख लिया. 20 questions later, in another question, I write the exact same thing. This thing is almost copy pasted, and they have not learned what to do in this situation. They had this opportunity. There was an opportunity here about what to do in this situation. उन्होंने सीखा नहीं है. They have not learned. So what they end up doing is essentially getting stuck again in the second question because of the same reason. So this is the biggest learning opportunity. If you start breaking down the question into the triggers, at what point did I not know what to do? What was the point I was missing? You have to get the focus. Or even if you're asking somebody the solution, and if you're going for CAT 21, I would suggest that don't ask people solutions unless you reach the third round of a chapter. That means you're doing the same chapter the third time. For CAT 20 people, now I can suggest you, okay, round 2 में पूछ लेना solutions या पढ़ लेना solutions. Because maybe पढ़ के हो सकता है एक आध क्वेश्चन तुमको मिल जाए एग्जाम में, तो maybe in that hope you can do that, right? But round 1 में तो नहीं होना चाहिए. No reading of solutions, no asking of doubts at all. You have to do it independent. And तब जो number of questions मैंने बताया, and if you are in a short time, then you can reduce that questions. You can try to do what 300 questions could do in averages. You can try to learn in 200 questions. As I said, I've put a factor of safety कि तुम कुछ learning opportunities miss करोगे, तब मैंने 300 क्वेश्चन बताया. अगर तुम learning opportunities miss नहीं करते हो तो 150 क्वेश्चन में भी शायद एवरेज हो जाएगा. ठीक है? So this is what is the how, and the most important part of CAT prep. I'll just come to this. This is the last part. Is the repetitive logic in the CAT. CAT is completely about repetitive logic. So if you can break down the learning, what I'm trying to tell you here. And learning opportunity 4, of course, is when you complete the third learning opportunity, then the questions जहाँ पे तुमको कुछ नहीं समझ में आ रहा था वहाँ कुछ आने लगेगा तुमको. So they'll become like the third quality questions, and then you start expanding that and working that. So coming back, once you what I've been trying to tell you here is the learning opportunities then inside or the learning unit in a question in quants is not the chapter, and it is not the question. It is the trigger and the reaction. It is the trigger and the reaction. Every question triggers of something. So let me just show you a live example of this, and let me show how to react to an actual CAT question. Of course, we don't have too much time on this, so I will keep it short. I'm just going to give you one sample of a question and its reaction. So this was a question that came in CAT 2007. One of my favorite questions that I show people. And the thinking in this question is that M and N are, you want to find the number of positive integral solutions if n is odd and less than 60. M and N are positive integers and n is odd and less than 60. So in this situation, in this situation, and I'll come to the questions, all your questions as promised, once I finish these two questions. There's a certain reason why I've decided to pick up these two questions. In this situation, when you see 1 by m plus 4 by n equals 1 by 12, the first thing you realize, and both m and n are positive, the first thing you realize is that 1 by m will be a positive value plus another positive value, giving me 1 by 12. So what I realized is that both these positive values have to be less than 1 by 12. Are you okay with this? Now I'll take your comments. We'll focus on this question. Are you okay with this, or you want me to explain this again? There are two positive quantities which are adding up to a third positive quantity. So both these positive quantities which are adding up has to be smaller than the last quantity. Clear? If you and your friend have 10 chocolates together, can you have 11 with you? Understood? Common sense है. Both these numbers, both 1 by m and 4 by m, will be less than 1 by 12. Can you see that? If anybody is not seeing that, please let me know. I can explain it again. I'll say the same thing again. Let's say there are two friends A and B, and they have 10 chocolates between them. So when you count the chocolates with A, can it be 11? नहीं ना? It will be less than 10 ना? If I tell them दोनों के पास 0 नहीं है, तो 1 to 9 होगा दोनों के पास each, such that the sum is 10. So both are less than 12. And then now I get a trigger in the question कि n is odd. So if n is odd, the second, this was first reaction in this question. So there was a trigger inside this equation which was coming from the equation and from this part. This was trigger 1 and reaction 1. Now to this reaction, if you add this trigger, n is odd and less than 60. To this reaction, if you add this trigger, what happens? So let me just clean the board. And I come to this point where I know that 1 by n plus 4 by n is equal to 1 by 12. And both these numbers are positive. That means both of these are positive, so both of them will be less than 1 by 12. So this will also be less than 1 by 12, and this will also be less than 1 by 12. This is reaction 1. Reaction 2 is if 4 by n has to be less than 1 by 12, n will have to be greater than 48. There's a reason why I'm writing small. So because I need to show you the repetition of logic. If 4 by n is less than 1 by 12, n is greater than 48. Because if you take n 47 or 45, then this part will be larger. Is that clear? I'll just write this a little bit larger here. If 4 by n is less than 1 by 12, n has to be greater than 48. ये clear है everybody? Because if n is less than 48, then the left hand side is larger, becomes larger. At 48, both of them are equal. So possible values of n are 49, 51, 53, 55, 57, and 59. These are the 6 possible values that n has. But the question is not about how many possible values n has. The question is about the number of possible values for mn, where m is also an integer. So the next step, so this was reaction 2 in this question. So reaction 3 in this question is to try to say, okay, I want to put n in this equation. I want to insert the value of n in this equation and try to see whether m is an integer or not. Right? I want to put n in this integer in this equation. Yes, Manshu, the answer is correct. Your answer is correct. I want to put n in this equation and try to find the value of m. So common sense then tells me, and this is what a trigger outside the question is. Common sense tells me that if I want to put n inside this and try to see if whether m comes out integer, this is not a very wieldy equation. This is difficult to wield. So I should do this transformation of 1 by m is equal to 1 by 12 minus 4 by n is equal to n minus 48 upon 12n, and hence that gives me that m is equal to 12n upon n minus 48. And after this, if you just insert these values of n here, this was reaction 3. You insert these values of n here and you'll keep seeing when m becomes an integer. So I think for n49, this will be an integer because this will be 12 into 49 upon 1. So m will be an integer. 51 it will become 12 into 51 upon 3. So this will also be an integer, and I think the last integer will be at 57. So 49, 51, 57. 53, 55, 59 check करोगे तो integer नहीं आएगा. So the correct answer is 3. Those values of n are n is odd, less than 60, and n is greater than 48. So that's how we got those values of n. There are two constraints on n. N has to be more than 48, which is something you have to read, and the second one is that it's less than 60 and it's odd. So there are three solutions here. At n49, you get m as an integer. At n51, you get m as an integer. Basically, you just have to insert the values of n in this, not in this. Because if you put n in this, you'll still get the answer, but it will be very tedious to get the answer. So this was reaction 3 to get to the question. And you might ask me, ये कैसे reactions आएंगे exam में? So that's why I'm telling you कि this reactions you can't learn in theory. And that's why I told you that 90% of your learning is through questions. And how you deal with the questions is the entire gist of QA prep. So coming back, why did I show you this question is because of this question, which came in CAT 2017. I mean, look at the irony of it. This is exactly 1 decade later. Exactly 1 decade later. The number of positive integral solutions for 1 by a plus 1 by equals b, this is CAT 2017, equals 1 by 9. So 1 by a plus 1 by b is equal to 1 by 9. So can we use the reaction 1 here? The same one? Is reaction 1 the same? This is positive and this is positive. So both of them have to be less than 1 by 9. Are these two reactions matched? 1 to 1? 1 decade later, inside the cat, I am doing the exactly same thing I did in 10 years ago. Is reaction 1 exactly the same or not? Yeah, tell me. कोई difference है reaction 1 में? Exactly same. Now the question deviates about in terms of reaction 2. They tell you a, b are positive integers such that a is less than or equal to b. So if a is less, so first of all you realize that if both a and b 1 by n 1 by b are less than 1 by 9, तो a का value 10 onwards होगा और b का value भी 10 onwards होगा. That's the only case in which both of them will be less than 1 by 9. And a is less than b. So I will start putting values of a into this equation, starting with 10, and try to see whether b comes out an integer or not. The only difference between this problem here and this problem here at this point is I don't know how long I have to go with a. यहाँ पे मुझे पता था कि n के साथ 59 तक जाना है. That's the only difference between these two. Right? So should I put a in this equation or should I transform? Should I repeat this transformation? What do you think? Should I do this transformation or should I try to struggle with a inside this equation? Should I transform or not? Common sense, no? I should transform. Right? So before I start putting a into this equation, try to find the value of b, I should say, because I'm going to put a and find b, I should say 1 by b is equal to 1 by 9 minus 1 by a. So I get 1 by b is equal to a minus 9 upon 9a. And that means b is equal to 9a upon a minus 9. This is the point which you reach. So out of the 3 steps you had to do, the 3 reactions you had to do to get this thing, and the 4th reaction was the insertion of the values and checking. So this 4th reaction is again the same. I start putting a as 10. When I put a as 10, I get b as 9 into 10 upon 1. So b comes out 90. This obeys my a less than equal to b. A 10, b 90 obeys that. So this is one solution I get. When I put a as 11 in this, you can check 9 into 11 by 2 does not come out as an integer. But when I put a as 12, 9 into 12 by 3 gives me 36 for b. And I realize that the gap between a and b are closing. So this is going to be a finite set of numbers. So when I put 13 in this, I'll get 9 into 13 by 4. When I put 14 in this, I get 9 into 14 by 5, not an integer. When I put 15 in this, I get 9 into 15 by 6. The 6 will not cancel out, it's not an integer. When I put 16 and 17, it does not come out an integer. When I put 18, I get 9 into 18 by 19, by 18. And I realize that 1818 is the solution. So there's so much inside questions that you'll start realizing that once you are populated, and that's why I keep telling you that your first target is to populate your problem solving experience in every chapter. And don't bother, मतलब अगर तुम्हारा, I mean, there'll always be. So see, 4 steps में से 3 steps same थे इसमें between both these questions, and 10 years apart in CAT. 10 years apart in CAT. I've seen a question in CAT 2001 whose exact replica with same change numbers has come in CAT 2019. Exact same question. It was a research question. You can check that. If you can pick up my latest book, उसमें है वो. So the point I'm trying to make here is that there's a certain process. If you do not compromise with the tools and structures that that process gives you, then you will not have an issue. You'll be able to make sure that your quants become strong overall. Right. So that's about it. Now I'll just inform you about the Mindworks courses. For CAT 20, we are having a crash course available. So you can you will get information of that from our side. That's a complete crash course, which includes the test series. Then we have got something called the Arun Sharma CAT Challenge. These are 25 test papers, and 15 of these are going to be on my YouTube on my current version of the CAT. आज CAT का question numbers भी आ जाएगा. So we'll be able to then once CAT announces that it's supposed to come out today. So the Arun Sharma CAT Challenge, we are definitely giving you 15. We already released 10 tests today. तो 15 टेस्ट हम लोग देंगे उसमें, which will be of the latest pattern, and we might also give you access to the other tests in the latest pattern. Well, our first focus will be to get these 15 up, and the other 10 tests also we'll try to give. We normally give 25 test papers, which is my personal vision of the CAT. So we might just have a version of the first 10 tests also in the new CAT pattern. So you might be able to get 25 tests. वो आज तक we in fact most probably you can take that as guaranteed कि ये 25 टेस्ट हम लोग अरुण शर्मा कैट चैलेंज में देंगे. और थर्ड पार्ट जो है थर्ड कोर्स जो है we have a complete comprehensive course for CAT 21. So these are the three courses. Of course you can follow us on YouTube also. The Arun Sharma Mindworks channel is there. The three channels on YouTube which you can follow. One is the Arun Sharma Mindworks channel. The second is the Arun Sharma Academy. This is a fresh channel I've launched in the context of the pandemic and me having a lot of time to do stuff. Something I wanted to do for a long time but was not getting time for. So the Arun Sharma Academy is the second channel. And Meenakshi ma'am has a channel called which she's also launched very recently. Her channel is called the Verbal Teacup. So you can just look for these on YouTube and subscribe to them. You'll keep getting content from our side on this. The third, the other thing is we are also on FB. FB we have Cat Prep with Arun Sharma as the group, so you can join that group. And you can also follow my answers on Quora, etc. You can search me there, and I'm available there. Right. So questions now. Crash course is not available on website. Somebody will call you, or you'll get a call within this week, or you can call a helpline about it. The helpline number for courses is I'll just put it down here. The other question is Amaya is asking, would you recommend joining the crash course when one is not prepared with it? So in our crash course, what we are giving is we're giving you all the, as I said, our course is built around three parts. One is the basics. I don't know what has happened to my pen here. 1 second. Not able to find. Okay. So there are three kinds of courses we do here in on this thing, and everything in Mindworks is kind of modular. So by modular, what I mean is that we either have basic sessions on a topic, or booster sessions on a topic, or wonder what's happened to my pointer. It's not coming out on the slide. It's coming here. Let me just see. Yeah, ab aa raha hai. Okay, so coming back, so when you enter the crash course, we give you access to all the chapters at one go, the concepts of all the chapters, and then you can pick and choose the live classes you want to do. So it will be fruitful, but provided you have time to do it also. So Palak is asking, I've given almost done with first round of revision, given 25 marks mocks till now, but I'm scoring in 20s and early 30s. I don't understand where I'm going now. I think you're maybe a few tips for you, Palak. Focus. Are you reading twice while reading questions? Do you have to go through twice on a question? So that means you're not reactive while solving, and maybe you have not programmed the triggers. It's not just about going through the revision twice. It's about programming the triggers. It's about identifying this. What you just saw in this question was a trigger. मेरे को अब A डाल के B का value निकालना है. Should I do it in this form or should I change it? These are the kind of thoughts that you have to inbuild in your mind. So maybe I'll suggest another revision, an additional revision that will help you there. Basics of differentiation का basic तो पता रहना चाहिए कि differentiation कैसे करते हो आकर्षा. Yes, Surya, you can join the crash course for now. I'll give you a strategy. If you join the crash course, we'll have a strategy for you. Yes, there is an open mock cat today. There is a open mock cat happening today. So I don't seem to have the link with me for it. But I guess let me just see this on YouTube. So this is the Arun Sharma Mindworks channel on YouTube. And on that, if you go onto that channel, this is this thing. Okay, this is the form. You can fill this form and register for it. There's a 4 to 6 slot also available. So I've put that on you. Put that for you. Right, that's the Arun Sharma Mindworks channel, and this is the Arun Sharma Academy channel. This is, this is my personal favorite now. In terms of, I actually want to do a lot of stuff on this. Just started, just 4 videos on this right now, and trying to give you this thing. So this is, for example, this video is about the 3 phases of a great career. I was talking to Delhi School of Economics students on Friday. So I was mentioning to them how you should plan your career. So this was what I did it. And the third one is Meenakshi ma'am's personal channel, which you can subscribe to. Her channel is the Verbal Teacup. So she is building it around concepts and this thing. So she's talked about dialectics, rhetoric, and you'll see a lot of verbal work coming on her channel. So I've sent you the crash course link, the mock test link. The test will be new pattern. 15 tests are definitely हम लोग new pattern दे रहे हैं. We also trying to make sure that the other 10 tests also we restructure to the new pattern once we get the number of questions. अच्छा, LOD 3 का question Pranav से. LOD 3, I recommend 6 chapters. This is an important question. Thanks Pranav for that question. I recommend 6 chapters on which you should do LOD 3. I think that they are compulsory. मेरे कॉन्ट्स के बुक में 20 चैप्टर है, जिसमें से 13 चैप्टर में LOD 3 है. 6 कंपलसरी है, 6 compulsory, 6 read through and solve what you can, So even if you don't do those 6, it's fine. And 1 don't do, वो गलती से है वहाँ पे. That 1 don't do is the LOD 3 of coordinate geometry. So उसको मत छूना, वो मेरे next edition में हट भी रहा है. The 6 chapters where you must do the LOD 3 are number systems, because you'll see a lot of structures inside those questions which will be used in your exams, whether it's mock test or your full length or your actual CAT. The second chapter is progressions. The third chapter is average, where you should have to do the LOD 3. In fact, LOD अगर average में skip करना है तो LOD 2 skip कर लो, because LOD 2 is mostly calculative in average. LOD 3 has got some beautiful questions in average. Then the fourth must do in LOD 3 is the chapter of ratio proportion. Must do, because there's a lot of structures in the LOD 3 of ratio proportion, which you'll see you being used in the CAT and other exams. The fifth must do chapter and the sixth must do chapter. The fifth and sixth are equations. That's quadratic equations and equations and functions. The HA you should do, especially if you're aiming for a high percentile, very high percentile, so you should go there. Okay, so what are the questions? I've started CAT prep today. Avanti says I'm very weak at maths. The process तो यही रहेगा. Block 5, I don't suggest block. I mean, किसी block को थोड़ा कम कर सकते हो तुम. You might not be able to get through. You see, essentially when you talk about skill levels, ultimately every block पे 6 या 7 क्वेश्चन आते हैं. अब इस साल 4 या 5 क्वेश्चन आएंगे every block पे. तो तुम 5 में से कितना कर पाते हो? If you're highly skilled, you'll do 4 plus. If you're not skilled, you will do 0. If you're moderately skilled, you might do 2. So in chapters where you have problems, and this general, not just Avanti's answer, in chapters where you have problems, focus on at least getting to 2 out of 5. कि 2 तो हो जाए मेरे से. Because otherwise what happens if you don't do a chapter or don't if you completely not do a chapter, so the pressure on the other chapters becomes very high for you to get your attempts in. So वो strategy अच्छा नहीं है कि नहीं करें. ठीक है. LOD 3 is in phase 2. You can do it in phase 2 or you can do it in phase 3. Prashant asks, is it a good idea to do an MBA now? Aren't the placement affected now? It's actually the best time to be in studies for 2 years. When I was reading somewhere that when the 1918 pandemic happened, the after the pandemic, and before that the World War for 4 years, and then 2 years of the pandemic. के बाद 1920s are called the Roaring Twenties. That people just came out and spent like mad, and it was a time of great economic activity and this thing. So great jobs, everything started opening up immediately after the pandemic. So it's going to happen. And upper limit, what people are saying, hopefully that they are correct, कि 21 या 22 के बाद pandemic खत्म हो जाएगा. Yeah, it'll at least not have these disastrous effects that it has right now. So it's quite valuable to do an MBA now, because we are going to get to the Roaring 20s again in 2020s, right? So Rishabh's question, माइका के लिए कैट देना पड़ता है और थोड़ा सा माई कैट के लिए तैयारी करना पड़ेगा. So that you can just look at the pattern and do it. Siddhant is saying how to start preparation. How to start preparation is start doing a chapter in 2 days, right? And also start taking a mock test together with that. Dravya says, is it true that only 6 to 10, some topics are more than 6 to 10, Dravya? 11, 12 भी आ जाता है थोड़ा बहुत. So permutation combinations clearly, but they're all logical chapters. So you have to understand a 10th standard student can understand the functions and solve the functions questions of CAT. Maximum time to be dedicated for a quant question, every round 10 minutes. Second round again 10 minutes, right? And once you lose to a question completely, 3-4 राउंड कर लिया, उसके बाद नहीं हो रहा है तो सॉल्यूशन देख लो. Karthik, if you're starting now and you don't have time more than 2 hours a day, then you can take a shot. Nobody's stopping you from taking a shot, but give it for 21. Yes, Pratik, all the tests will be new pattern now. Vijay is talking about CAT 22 prep. Great time to start now, or maybe in the next 3 months, because what that does is for you is that you actually can hit the 98, 99 percentiles by end of next year, and then go for 22 with starting from a 98%. देखो CAT prep हर लेवल पे किया जा सकता है. मैं अभी तुम्हारे सामने बैठा हूँ, मेरे को अभी CAT दे दो, I'll score a 99.97 to 99 percentile. And if you ask me to to prepare for CAD, I can define a process for myself also, which will take my score from 230 to 270. So हर लेवल पे CAD prep होता है. तो अगर तुम 150 170 कोर्स इस साल पहुंच जाते हो, तो अगले साल you can move to two. I mean इस साल मतलब 2021 में, तो 2022 में you can start moving a score from 170 to 210. Yes, Surya, you can join for the crash course now. Gopal's question is, I'm doing my job and my target is 21. Study plan for CAT subjects. Basically, this is the outcome. So if you're going for CAT 21, the process, the plan we are following with our students is this: that for quants is that you do 1 2 3 blocks 1 2 3 first. You focus on getting this correct, this strong in the first 3 months. You do multiple rounds on this, and then you break the quants further into 4 5 6. So two parts में break कर दो quants को. ये पहले get this organized, completely do this in depth, go to deep aspects of this, and then go to 4 5 6 after that, after 3 months. So if you're starting now, let's say September, so by December January you should have this in control, and then you give the next 3 months where you are doing the first round of this, and you come to the second round. You continue 1 2 3 also doing your second rounds and your third rounds there, and 4 5 6 का first round यहाँ पे दिसंबर से अप्रैल करो, और साथ में DILR में 200 सेट का एक्सपीरियंस क्रिएट करो सॉल्विंग का. एक चीज याद रखना, one thing which I forgot to tell you, that when you start populating your questions in every chapter, there are two parallel populations that get built. One is what is questions exposed to, and the second is questions solved. And the number of questions solved will always be smaller than the number of questions exposure to, because you'll not be able to solve every question. So the gist of CAT prep, or what I've been talking about, is the recognition of this fact and not getting disheartened by this, and understanding that once I can equate this through my struggles and my learning, I'll be ready for the exam. It's not about doing more questions. Uh, from CAT 20, Imanshi is asking about CAT 20 perspective, which topics are more important, which can be slightly ignored. Matlab, as a trainer, my focus is on telling people how to minimize risk. But you are asking a risky question, so I'll give you an answer to this. अगर मेरे को 12 चैप्टर करने हैं, 12 13 चैप्टर करने हैं अच्छे से, और कुछ मतलब इग्नोर का मतलब पूरा इग्नोर मत करना, बिकॉज नहीं तो कैट 2018 का हालत हो जाएगा. 4 क्वेश्चन कॉन्ट्स लॉक के आ जाएंगे, नहीं आते हैं तो वो 4 क्वेश्चन गए 34 में से 30 पे आ गए, और वो 30 में बाकी चैप्टर्स बहुत टफ हो गया. So you can't even do those 30. So people ended with 10 questions and 98 percentile that year. So thoda slightly ignore, where you don't do a second round, you just do one round. Slightly ignore. Maybe this was very clear पहले, लेकिन last 2 3 years में इसमें बहुत questions आ रहे हैं. So but as far as you are comfortable, normally these chapters are chapters in which first round में comfortable हो जाना चाहिए. बहुत ज़्यादा second third round की जरूरत नहीं होती है, तो इसमें बहुत ज़्यादा difficult complicated questions बनते नहीं हैं. So I would put these 4 chapters maybe. टाइम स्पीड डिस्टेंस में जो एप्लीकेशन ऑफ टाइम स्पीड डिस्टेंस है उसको थोड़ा सा कम कर सकते हो. क्लॉक्स रेसेस वो थोड़ा सा कम कर दो. बेसिक अंडरस्टैंडिंग अगर टाइम स्पीड डिस्टेंस का हो गया तो यू कैन डू दोस क्वेश्चंस एनीवे, तो यू कैन इग्नोर दोस. या ऑफ कोर्स यू गेट चैप्टर वाइज हेल्प एंड अटेंशन इन माइंड वर्क्स, राइट? Nitin, are you ready to speak? Okay, so Nitin is a student with us who's been constantly following us for the last 2 3 years, and he's also experienced a lot of problems, a lot of other institutes, etc. So last time that I was doing a workshop on CAT last week with some students, so he messaged me that he wanted to speak. So today I said कि मैं ही तुमको मौका दे दूंगा, तुम बोलो इसके बारे में. You can speak about your experiences. Yeah, I'm unmuting Nathan. He'll speak for 5 minutes now.
Hello. So,
Yeah, you're audible.
am I coming through? Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So, thank you, sir. First of all, sir, for this opportunity. So sir, मैं आज I'll try to answer अपना मतलब ये आंसर क्या मैं अपना एक्सपीरियंस बताने की कोशिश करूंगा. तो सबसे पहले तो सर माइंडवर्क्स में आई एम टॉकिंग टू स्टूडेंट्स नाउ, राइट. तो सबसे पहले तो मुझे तो मेरा जो अपना मुझे लगता है माइंडवर्क्स में, तो माइंडवर्क्स में आने के बाद जो सबसे जो पहला एक जो हिट मिलता है ना, हार्श रियलिटी से एक सामना होता है. वो क्या होता है कि हम लोग को पता चलता है कि हम लोग जो प्रिपरेशन के नाम पे जो हम लोग करते थे, वो वो एक्चुअली कुछ ना करने से बेटर था. ये मैं अपनी बात कर रहा हूँ, आई डोंट नो अबाउट अदर्स, आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट माई सेल्फ. कि हम लोग जो हम लोग रूट्स यूज करते थे कि प्रिपेयर करते थे कॉन्ट्स, चाहे वो कोई भी सब्जेक्ट हो, टीआई, कॉन्ट और वर्बल एंड ऑल. बाद में हमें जब यहाँ पे आते तो हमें पता चलता है कि एक्चुअली प्रिपरेशन का पूरा तरीका ही अलग है. एंड वी डू, जैसे सर ने खुद भी बोला, वी डू नॉट हैव टू यू नो डू अ लॉट ऑफ वर्क. वी हैव टू जस्ट डू एक डिफाइंड अमाउंट ऑफ वर्क एंड द राइट वे, जो सर खुद पर्सनली बताते हैं. एंड आई पर्सनली, मैंने बहुत इससे पहले भी मैं तैयारी कर रहा था, एंड आई हैव गिवन, मैंने सफिशिएंट टाइम दिया हुआ है प्रिपरेशन में,
मैं
बट स्कोर्स वर नेवर
एक
इंप्रूविंग.
करूंगा नितिन, आई विल जस्ट टेल यू गाइस. नितिन को मैंने पहले 2 साल में इतना डांटा है जितना शायद मैंने किसी और स्टूडेंट को नहीं डांटा आज तक, because he was not seeing my point of view about how to prepare. So you can continue, Nitin.
Yes, sir. So this actually directs me to the more important factor which I want to talk about. That is the availability of first of all, तो जैसे ये मैं इंग्लिश भी नहीं बोल पाता था, अब सर ने मेरे को अलाउ किया है, तो I have become थोड़ा बहुत कॉन्फिडेंस भी आता है बोलने में. So these are the kind of things that sir does, right? So okay, I'll just answer about कि we have at Mindworks students.
People don't understand Hindi, Nitin.
Okay. So English is better, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I want to say that was कि a lot, like at Mindworks we have a lot of there are a lot of faculties teaching quants and taking up different portions of the subjects. So at first I was very apprehensive about whether I should be because there were multiple faculties, I didn't understand the point of it. So, and I asked her also once, I remember the sir did not he gave me an explanation, but I did not really understood that. So what happened was that, but then as time went by and I just trusted sir and I just did what he told me, I started there is a very famous thing going on in CRAT preparation everywhere. Like, okay, we have to do a question in multiple ways, and in we do not have to, there is a different process. We have to change our methodology and moreover our mindset towards preparation. And initially, if you do it by yourself, you can do it. Like everybody, like sir himself says that everybody can prepare, self-study they can do. But I was very reluctant to this change, and it is not easy also. Like, we have been trained to study in a particular way, and then suddenly someone is asked, okay, change. We are not we take it's not very easy to change. But then what happened was that I was very passive. I just used to be attending these sessions. I never thought about what sir was saying. But then after attending same topics with two or three more teachers, it gave me that multiple dimension, and then that change became very fluid. I didn't have to go through that emotional tension and all. So it came very naturally to me, and then it hit me after some. I remember, I think after some 1 or 2 chapters,
I think,
then
Nitin,
I understood the logic.
one of the fights we had
Yes,
was
sir.
about how much I will help you with your doubts. You remember?
Yes, yeah, very important point. Initially, I used to be, I used to talk to sir about, sir, please resolve my doubts and all, and he would not, he would just give me hints, but then he will never directly tell me do this, in a particular question, and I could not understand, why sir is not telling me the doubts and all, and then when he literally forced me to do things on my own, the doubts, to take up my doubts on my own. And then after, see, nothing in this world comes in a very short span of time. After about 1 month and all, when I was resigned to do my doubts by myself, I realized that I was getting the things that I did not used to go understand before. So then I understood that why sir the process the sir has developed is so unique, and he really knows what to do with a student. So first of all, let me just tell you that this is not planned. I just follow sir's every video and all, because it just motivates me, and every time I have new insights. So please do not think that this is planned and all. And so since it's not planned, I might not be very coherent also. Okay.
Right.
So another point I want to take right now is like the trickiest part as a teacher, I believe, because like I said, I went to other places and all, to tell a student to do something and change. We find the change. Like I've been preparing for 1 year before I met sir and all. What happened was that I did a lot of work, but no change was coming. But if you talk to sir and you tell him, like, I'm at this point, the best thing about sir is that he can pick you up from any point. Like abhi 2020, maybe there is very less time, and you go to him, tell me, okay sir, and tell him that I have this, ye mera level hai. He can pick you up from that level, right? He will tell you exactly what to do and how you, मतलब कि सर को इतना बोलना नहीं पड़ता, वो बता देते हैं कि क्या करना है, and the change, it reflects in our scores. So this is one part.
Thanks
Yeah.
Nitin.
So one more thing I just wanted to.
बोल दो.
Okay. सर ये बोलना चाह रहा था कि सर माइंडवर्क्स का एक सबसे बड़ा मेरे को ऐसा फायदा रहता है ना सर, माइंडवर्क्स इज एक्चुअली इज एन आई ओपनर. हाउ सो कि पहले तो हम लोग को प्रॉब्लम रहती है कि रिसोर्सेज नहीं है, गाइडेंस नहीं है, एंड हम इस सब्जेक्ट में वीक है, उस सब्जेक्ट में वीक है एंड ऑल. बट माइंडवर्क्स में आने के बाद we have everything. We have all the help in the world, all the guidance and everything. Then we have no more excuses. We cannot lie to ourselves because everything is up there, and सिर्फ हमारा जो do part है वही नहीं होता है. So हम लोग को पता चल जाता है कि what कि हम लोग excuse ही देते थे. So that's one more thing. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sakshi. Sakshi, the question which is interesting in this context. There's so many negative reviews about Mindworks on Quora, and I'm quite sure if you look for them, so I can tell you that even my books have been lambasted left, right, center by so many people, and that there's this entire industry of people who are after my life because for some reason maybe they don't like my face, they don't like who I am, they don't like the fact that I'm successful. So मैं बोलता हूँ, I jokingly tell people that शायद मोदी जी के बाद मैं ही सबसे ज्यादा नेगेटिव कमेंट्स फेस करता हूँ. तो मेरे बुक्स के बारे में देख लो तुम, अगर देखोगे रिव्यूज अबाउट माय बुक्स तो लगेगा कि ये तो दुनिया की सबसे रद्दी बुक्स होंगे. That's how people have written about my books. And while it did pain me a lot initially, then now I started realizing कि वो बच्चे, वो लोग जो भूखना चाहते हैं भूखेंगे, वो हाथी को जो चलना है वो चलेगा. तो मेरे को देखो, my philosophy is very clear. I have created a system which will take you from wherever you are, and even if you are a 30 percentile, you can get a 99 percentile in CAT. So that system requires a certain walk that you have to do, and my job is to tell you how to do that walk. My job is not to walk with you, which is why, for example, what Nitin was talking about, he used to come, I mean, when he joined me first time, so I used to ask him this question also, कि तुम मेरे कस्टमर हो कि मेरे स्टूडेंट हो. कस्टमर हो तो मैं तुमको सोल्यूशन बता देता हूँ, अगर तुम मेरे स्टूडेंट हो एंड यू वांट टू एक्चुअली लर्न, तो मैं तुमको सोल्यूशन अभी नहीं बताऊंगा. आई विल नॉट टेल यू, you allow yourself to think. And that is the reason for that is not, I mean, it's not my personal invention. It is just a discovery that I have about this, and I show this to every group of students I talk to. I think the greatest person, not this, the greatest mind ever made this statement about how he think about how he learned so many things. So this is, इससे बड़ा indication क्या चाहिए मेरे को to understand how to develop myself. Einstein was a guy who ended up creating the theory of relativity. When people asked him what is theory, I mean, how did you come up with the theory of relativity, which is so difficult for people to explain and understand? You know what Einstein's answer was? His answer was it was common sense. So after a certain point, everything becomes common sense. And you, if I mean, don't, I tell my students, don't obey me, obey this guy. इसको तो obey करोगे ना. अरुण शर्मा जो बोल रहा हो सकता है टेस्टेड नहीं है. एल्बर्ट आइंस्टाइन को तुम क्वेश्चन करने वाले कौन हो? And when he's telling you that I stay with the question much longer, and that's where my journey starts. That's where my discovery starts. That's where I learn more about things. Who are you to question his process? Who am I to question his process? I just follow his process. And this is one of his most famous quotations. Unfortunately, many people across the industry. और दूसरा factor ये है, when you come to me as a student, I'm very clear about one thing. That is, as a teacher who's not insecure, if I'm an insecure teacher, I'll want you to depend on me for everything. रात को तुम 12 बजे मेरे से क्वेश्चन पूछो, मैं तुमको immediately solution बताऊंगा. There are teachers doing that, and you can take your pick. I'm not saying you need to join Mindworks, but if I am a good teacher, my first and primary objective and my only objective will be to make you independent of me. Your solving has to become independent of Arun Sharma being there for you. It has to go into your mind so that you can do those things. Otherwise, imagine Dronacharya is teaching Arjuna archery, and he tells him कि तुमको ये दिक्कत है, चलो मैं दिखाता हूँ कैसे तीर को पकड़ना है और कैसे धनुष को पकड़ना है. Will it work? Will Arjuna ever be able to fight the Mahabharata war? So I tell people this thing, and I'm very clear about, because I've spent 50 plus hours in the CAT, since solving the CAT, and every year I have doubts in every fourth, fifth question, every third, fourth question. I have a major doubt in कि इसको क्या करना है. DI सॉल्व कर रहा हूँ, ये पॉइंट आ जाता है, अब क्या करना है, सोचना पड़ता है. ऐसा तो नहीं है कि 2+2 पूछा गया हर जगह. तो डाउट्स तो होते हैं. और तुम अगर पूरे साल में डाउट लेने रेजोल्यूशन नहीं क्रिएट किया अपने लाइफ में, तो हाउ डू यू सॉल्व द डाउट? तुम्हारा डाउट लेने रेजोल्यूशन था कि तुमको कोई टीचर था जो बता दे रहा था रोज. एग्जाम में तो टीचर नहीं रहेगा. वो डाउट रेजोल्यूशन तुम्हारे दिमाग में रहना चाहिए. वो हो जाएगा तो अपने आप तुम्हारा स्कोर बढ़ जाएगा. राइट? So crash course beneficial depends on how you use it, Pooja. So I hope I answered your question, Sakshi. Good you brought that out. Well, it's a very big pain point for me that why do people not like me? I have not harmed anybody, and I have not tried to do anything wrong to anyone. I just make sure that I do my work well. But maybe some people can't see success or whatever it is. I'm not saying that I'm very successful. There are so many people who are much more successful than me. But I've been, in my own limited way, I've made an impact, which I try to keep getting. Okay, so I hope I answered that question for you. And of course, I didn't want to say that, but ये भी true है कि a lot of those write-ups are about are written by people who are our competitors. So that is also there. Anyway, that's a dirty underbelly of the industry. I personally will not write anything wrong about my competitor, but I don't think, and I don't expect my competitors to have that moral compass to have that. So you will see there are authors. I'm not saying that other books are not good. They must be good, but there are authors who, in every answer, they'll jump into every question, and that these are teachers, and this thing. I don't know why they don't like me. Maybe some past janam ki this thing, who will jump into every question on something cat ke related, and वहाँ पे लिखा रहेगा don't use Arun Sharma books. You look at their profile, they have 20 answers. All the 20 answers they have written Arun Sharma books mat use karo. Use X, Y, Z. Right? So obviously you can't do anything about to motivate. Unfortunately or fortunately for me, unfortunately for them, it doesn't affect my books and the fact that people still use it. So okay, other questions, section wise strategy. I've put up a video on the strategy for CAT 20. What might happen? What might happen is this. Section wise strategy for the new pattern of CAT. I've put up a video for that. You can have a look at that. No issue, Shakshi. I know that it's more than most coaching centers, but that's how it is, I guess. So if I was an unknown person, I would start let's say XYZ Institute. Nobody will be bothered about me to write about
So,
negative about me mostly. Yeah.
so can I just interrupt for 1 second?
Yeah.
So since you have not unmuted me still now, that's why.
Yeah.
So about it, like I have been like I'm your student, right? So like I mean I don't know how it matters, but I'm just saying that if anyone is disheartened, like he's not thinking twice about Mindworks based on those things, then I am ready to share my number with with you guys. You join, and I mean you take his guidance, and I'm ready to. If anything, you can curse me or whatever. I'm ready to share my personal number. No, I'm not a very I'm not a teacher and all, but I'm just saying that I can give my personal number and vouch for you will have an impact in your preparation. And only reason that you will not be selected will be that you did not put enough work and you did not follow exactly what sir told.
हाँ तो वो
So I mean just
एक एंगल मेरा एंगल से ये भी फिलोसफी पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से I don't try to please my customers. I try to
yeah.
make my students happy. That's my this thing. So that's why I tell people, I openly ask people कि तुम मेरे कस्टमर हो कि मेरे स्टूडेंट हो. कस्टमर हो तो मैं तुमको I'm open to doing stuff for you as a customer. But मेरे को पता है कि मेरे स्टूडेंट्स ही सक्सीड करेंगे. So I need them to come to that point of view. Right? And as I said, we have a solution. मतलब तुमको अगर हर क्वेश्चन का सोल्यूशन चाहिए तो हम रिकॉर्ड करके डाल दे रहे हैं उसको देखते रहो तुमको 20 क्वेश्चन में तुम वॉच 20 क्वेश्चन में तुम्हारा काम नहीं हो रहा है वॉच 50 क्वेश्चंस कर लो वी आर गिविंग अ सॉल्यूशन देयर राइट
एंड सर एक और बात सर कि सर आपके पास लाइक मतलब आप लाइक व्हेन यू आर ऑलवेज रेडी टू स्पेंड टाइम राइट आई मीन फॉर अब इस वेबिनार का भी मेरे को लगता है शायद आपने 1 घंटा ही रखा था और स्ट्रेच हो गया आई थिंक ज्यादा टाइम हो गया
आई डोंट लुक एट दैट टाइम मैंने अगर
तो,
काम में रहा है तो मैं करता हूं
सो इसी तरह से प्रिपरेशन में भी जैसे पहले मेरे को पहले तो सर ने ज्यादा एंटरटेन करते थे क्योंकि बिकॉज आई वाज नॉट रेडी टू एक्सेप्ट व्हाट ही यूज्ड टू टेल मी बट आफ्टर आई अंडरस्टूड एवरीथिंग व्हाट ही यूज्ड टू टेल एंड देन व्हेन आई गेम विद रेलेवेंट थिंग्स he used to talk to me he was never there was never a time crunch even though he was writing his book I guess and he had a lot of time crunch but he never like asked me to okay I do not have time and all
strategy wise every student has that option to call me I'm just a missed call away I tell all my students that this is my phone number you get my phone number when you join Mindworks you can call me any day about what you need to do the calls cannot be about ये question कैसे solve करना है because that's where not my job राइट माई जॉब इज कि ठीक है तुमको 20 क्वेश्चन और चाहिए तो मैं तुमको बना के उसका सॉल्यूशन डाल देता हूँ दे देता हूँ तुमको तुम्हारा वी हैव लेट्स से टाइम स्पीड डिस्टेंस चैप्टर में हमारे पूरे वीडियोस में 50 वॉच क्वेश्चन हैं सिर्फ राइट तुमको लगता है कि तुमको 70 चाहिए तो मेरा जॉब है कि मैं तुमको 20 और दे दूँ तुम बता दो कि ये क्वेश्चन का सोल्यूशन दे दीजिए मैं कर दूंगा उसको दैट विल गेट आइदर आई विल डू इट और आई विल गेट इट ऑर्गेनाइज्ड बट मेरा जॉब नहीं है तुम्हारा हाथ पकड़ के तुमसे सॉल्व कराना बिकॉज अगर वो मैं करूंगा तो तुम एग्जाम में सॉल्व नहीं कर पाओ यू विल नॉट बी सॉल्व एबल टू डू इट इन द एग्जाम एंड आवर ऑब्जेक्टिव इज नॉट हाउ हैप्पी यू आर विद मी आवर ऑब्जेक्टिव इज हाउ you remember me during the exam and thank me for what I did and if that happens then the work is done so let's be very clear about this right and I in that sense I don't agree with a lot of what other teachers do कि immediate रात को 2 बजे डाउट क्लियर कर दूंगा मैं तुम्हारा and all those things I don't think that's the way to prepare you're not second standard kids right and second standard kids के preparation के process से you don't clear the cat right you might become as a teacher it might make you much more popular but my popularity is not my objective right so what are the questions 90 marks getting only 90 marks in mocks is it possible to get 99 percentile you will have to somehow get that score up to 150 there are processes to change percentile if you want I'll put up a video on how to improve your percentile etc कुछ डाला भी है मैंने YouTube पे you can have a look at that Chinmay section wise strategy for the new pattern of exam Prathamesh I have already done that you can watch that there'll be a reduction of question otherwise there's going to be no change so just shave off everything by 1/3 so in DI if you're trying to solve 16 to 20 questions try to solve 12 to 14 questions now in cons if you're trying to solve 24-25 questions try to solve 16-17 right working aspirants के लिए so crash course का structure basically Pooja will be that you when you enter you'll be given access to a whole lot of chapters with the concepts so your objective it's not just about what we do it's also about what we want you to do so your objective will be to to do one chapter every 2 days. So because our time is limited, so the first round of every chapter should happen in 2 days. तो दो दिन में, और पहला टारगेट होगा 1 2 3 करना. कैट 20 का कर रहे हो अभी, तो 21 में तो अगर जा रहे हो तो 1 2 3 your target will be till December. If you're doing CAT 20, then 1 2 3 का target will be next 30 35 days, right? So it's possible, as I said, timelines context में, it's possible to do 1 2 3 it's possible to do this entire thing in a minimum of 30 days and a maximum of 90 to 120 days. You can spend any time between this time on this. So obviously, if you're going for a shorter term, not started preparing, and CAT also, one more philosophy याद रखना, CAT is not a one shot stop. You can, of course, even if you're giving CAT 20, give it your best shot and keep it that in the horizon that you might need to give CAT 21, because an MBA is not a getting out of college course कि जिस साल college से निकले उसी साल CAT करना ही है और MBA करना ही है. You can have, I mean, as far as you're entering an MBA in anywhere. So I was telling the DSC students कि तुम लोग 2022 में पास कर रहे हो, तो तुम्हारा कंपटीशन 2017 पास आउट और 2027 पास आउट के बच्चों के साथ होगा थ्रू आउट योर करियर. So anytime anybody has done an MBA, so somebody in your batch did an MBA in 1820, fine. तुम 23 25 कर रहे हो, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. MBA is not, it can be picked up anytime in your professional career. Of course, 7 8 years after 6 7 years of work experience, the weight goes towards executive MBA rather than normal MBA, right? But till you are 2 years 3 years 4 years experience, you can still do a normal MBA. It still work for you. ठीक है? So I guess I've answered all questions, most questions at least. And anything else anybody wants to ask me specifically? Yeah, Karthik, I think you should redo,
Sir,
but you can also do a directed redo of the question. Karthik is asking. Yeah, I'm coming to you, Nathan. I'll just get back to you.
yeah, sure, sure, sir.
I have solved LAO to 1 2 once. So what happens is, in a shorter frame of time, your focus should be to do directed work. So what you do is, suppose already 1 2 तुमने कर लिया है और interest के questions में तुमको ज़्यादा exam में जाके दिक्कत नहीं हो रही, so you don't need to do it again. लेकिन प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस के क्वेश्चन में दिक्कत हो रहा है, तो प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस के क्वेश्चन, आई मीन अल्टीमेटली दो ही चीज है स्कोर इंप्रूवमेंट करने के लिए, या तो नंबर ऑफ क्वेश्चंस इंक्रीज करोगे या फिर रीडू करोगे. ये दोनों प्रोसेस से तुम्हारा स्कोर इंप्रूव करता है. तो प्लान आइदर दिस और दैट. ठीक है? या यू हैव अ चांस, रुशंक. So my books you can find on Amazon. Just use yeah, we are only online right now. Everybody, I mean, we used to have be offline at this thing. Nitin, अपने आप को म्यूट कर लो, तुम्हारे some people are having voice issues. Yeah, the crash
Okay,
course
okay,
will
sir.
be
Okay.
inclusive of WAD and PI. It will be inclusive of WAD and PIs actually. ठीक है? So the session will be available, Prachi. I'll be uploading it on YouTube. Weak in quant, how should I work on my foundation? As I said, if you're weak in quant, I mean, remember that box, the green part of the box and the red part of the box. If you're weak at quants, you might be at 10% quants, 10% green. So you'll have to, every round you do a round, give a break, come back to it, give a break. 4 बार तैयारी करोगे तो अपने आप हो जाएगा मैथ्स. ठीक है? New edition of the books are all available on Amazon. Vijay. Prachi, if you got 5.5 years of experience, then you can immediately look at giving CAT this year or next year latest, and also look at the GMAT next year, both. Yeah, we'll try to do something on DLR also. 90, 96, 73, decent profile, Karthik, no issues. Prachi, right now you're between the two, but very soon you'll be more towards executive. CAT 23 prepare करना है तो you can come in, Surashri, you can come in for, I mean, for a 21 batch with an extension to 22 and 23. So you can be with us for 3 years. Yeah, I made videos for how to use my books for cat. Yeah, they will be same pattern will apply for latest pattern also. ठीक है. Cat 20 के लिए if you're just starting, you will have to focus on DILR and this thing, and hopefully your English is good. English improve करने करके बाद cat देना है तो अब time नहीं बचा. English solving करना है तो you got time for it. So typically your time division should be 20% English, where you're just focusing on the solving, 40% in quants, and 20% in DILR. Yeah, you got a chance, Rushank. In the context of the example, Darshan, there are so many questions with the repetition of concepts. वो जो मैंने एक एग्जाम्पल दिया ना यहाँ पे, इसका मैं 25 एग्जाम्पल 25 30 40 एग्जाम्पल बना सकता हूँ. ये जो मैंने सैम्पल 1 दिया है ना तुम लोग को 2 क्वेश्चन का, ऐसे आई कैन शो यू 40-50 केसेस, मतलब ऑफ द कफ, ऑफ माय टॉप ऑफ माय हेड. खोजूंगा तो 70-80-100 केस मिल जाएंगे ऐसे. Yeah, it might make recent. Aparna is saying did an integrated MBA with B Farm for 5 years. Will it make sense to from NMIMS redo MBA? Yes, you should go to a top B school. Go to something better this time, right? 10th 84, 12th 58, grad 80. Try to do your best in the CAT, Rishabh. It will help you. ठीक है. So if you're starting right now, focus on mock tests a lot. You start straight from the mock test, and whichever question time you have a problem in, you start focusing on that. And cons, of course, you'll have to look at in cons you'll have to look at your portion coverage also. But DILR or verbal, the good part is that even if you're starting now, DILR verbal does not have any portion coverage. You might just discover that when you start solving LR, you're already good at it. So that's good for you then. ठीक है. ऐसी category में percentiles are pretty low. मतलब even 60-70 percentile you'll get calls. Yes, 21 can 21 aspirants, 21 can CAT 21 preparation can extend to 22. Or when you talk to our counselors, you can ask them to give them the 22 batch. We'll keep you in 21 for the 1 year, and then shift you to the 22 batch. Roshni is having problem in logs, quadratic, and PNC. To work on logs and quadratic first, PNC को last रख सकते हो. Just for information, CAT 2019 में PNC का एक भी question नहीं आया था. 18 में एक आया था. Does not mean कि 19 में 4 नहीं आ जाएंगे, but just giving an indication of where the risk is. Academic, देखो, academics, all of you talking about academics and poor academics, etc. You remember this, that if you do well in the CAD, you'll get good calls. You'll get a lot of good calls. So you'll always have a chance. Soumitra is saying, I average around 80 percentile marks. I got 146 marks when I gave CAT 17. So एक चीज तुम देखोगे मॉक्स में तुम्हारा जो स्कोर आएगा वो थोड़ा म्यूटेड रहेगा because mocks are much tougher than the actual CAT. So if you can manage inside the CAT not to have the CAT में स्कोर इसलिए गिर जाता है because प्रेशर ज्यादा रहता है उसमें. तो अगर तुम प्रेशर को मैनेज कर लो CAT में तो you are good enough. Don't take your mock scores too seriously. I've seen people who never scored more than 110 in mocks score 150 160 in the CAT. ठीक है. I gave you answer 20 40 20 20. Aparna, define the time you have and do that. मैंने कोरा पे एक आंसर लिखा है about 70 days of prep. वो चेक कर लेना. Profile पे we have some videos on profile. You can look at those on the YouTube channel. Rishabh. 90 to 99 percentile का movement web is moving from 100 to 150 marks. So you will have to improve solving skills. Score बढ़ाने का दो ही रास्ता होता है, तो attempt बढ़ाओ या accuracy बढ़ाओ. So you'll have to fine tune and see which areas you need to put some work in so that your attempts go better and your accuracy goes better. ठीक है? I will just share you my Quora answer. Just give me a second. For last 70 days preparation. So the Quora pe chale jao, just look for me. You'll find these questions. Where is that one? Yeah, 85 days का मैंने answer दिया. I'll just share this with you. Okay, she will take that into account. IT is good for MBA, yes. Chalo. Thanks. This is my profile in Quora. Not been very active on Quora, but I'm planning to become now. The benefits of being locked down is infinite. Chalo. ठीक है. So we'll stop here. Been a long session. It's supposed to be 1 hour session. मैं normally time देखता नहीं हूँ, but now I have to look at it. ठीक है. चलो. ठीक है. There are ways to do it, Amesh. So you need to find them. कोई भी क्वेश्चन में मतलब मैथ्स का लास्ट कमेंट इन द कॉन्टेक्स्ट ऑफ अमेयर्स क्वेश्चन हाउ टू टैकल मिक्सचर एलोकेशन, कोई भी क्वेश्चन में अगर तुम वेरिएबल्स पहचानने लगोगे तो वेरिएबल का इंटरप्ले होता है मैथ्स के क्वेश्चन में. तो इफ यू स्टार्ट अंडरस्टैंडिंग वेरिएबल्स यू विल बी मच बेटर एट इट. सो थैंक यू सो मच. बाय एवरीबॉडी. थैंक यू. सी यू. I'm stopping now. Bye. Great having all of you. Thank you for investing all the time. And as I said, please do follow us. Even if you don't join Mindworks, that's okay. You just follow us on the channels, and there'll be a lot of free content that I'm bringing up on the Arun Sharma Academy. More of motivation and this thing, maybe some quants and problem solving also, but a complete mix bag with the LB on that. Chalo, thank you so much. Bye.